A warm good morning to everyone. On behalf of Tagore Engineering College, I am happy to welcome you all for today's webinar section on Carve Your Castle. I would like to thank the management and principal for their support and encouragement in conducting this webinar. It is presented by Mr. Shivashankaran and Mr. Prabhakaran, alumni of Tagore Engineering College. Now I hand over to Mrs. Deepa, Head of the Civil Department, Tagore Engineering College, to introduce our speakers. Thank you.
Beloved Chairperson, Professor M. Mala Madam, our Secretary Sir, our Principal Sir, Dr. L. Raja, for their valuable support and encouragement in organizing this webinar. I'm also happy to welcome our resource persons, Mr. R. Sivashankaran and Mr. S. Prabhakaran, our proud alumni. Both of them are our college alumnus. I feel extremely happy for the overwhelming response from all over the state and all over the country. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome all the faculty from various colleges, the professors, doctorates, academicians, industrial people, and all the UG and PG students who are participating in this webinar today. I'd like to introduce our resource persons. Mr. R. Sivashankaran is working as a manager, Green Buildings and Sustainability in Economic Engineers Private Limited, Chennai. He is an accredited professional from Indian Green Building Council. He is also an expert from International Finance Corporation, an expert from the Bureau of Energy Efficiency. And our second resource person, he is also our alumni. Mr. S. Prabhakaran is an accredited professional with advanced knowledge of green certification process of LEED, IGC, BC, Griha, and he is working as manager technical in Economic Engineers Private Limited. I welcome you all for this webinar, and I request Mr. Shivashankaran to take over the session. Shivashankaran, the session is yours. You can proceed with the webinar.
Uh,
Welcome.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. I'll probably start sharing my screen now. Right. I hope my screen is visible. Good morning to all the attendees, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank the management of Tagore Engineering College and Department of Civil Engineering for taking this initiative and organizing this webinar on Carve Your Castle. So right, I'm Siva Shankaran, and I'm an alumni of Tagore Engineering College, Department of Civil Engineering, 2010-14 batch. Currently, I work for a company called Earthnomic Engineers Private Limited. Earthnomic Engineers Private Limited, and currently I head the green buildings and sustainability divisions of the company. I've been in the industry for the last 6 years, and I've almost advised over 50 million square feet of project across sectors. I had privileged to work for very distinguished projects of the country, including India's first platinum rated tire factory, India's highest rated existing green building, India's first platinum rated railway campus, and India's largest platinum rated green homes community. I'm an accredited professional from Indian Green Building Council, and I'm also an edge expert from International Finance Corporation and ECBC expert from Bureau of Energy Efficiency. And I've been training professionals, faculty, students, and interns on the concept of green buildings and sustainability, energy simulation aspects, and sustainability aspects uh, across sectors. So, right, where do we start? This session is completely going to give an overview on on the prospects of the engineering, how engineering is approached today and how it has to be approached. What are the wide varieties of opportunities that exist in sectors that are currently unknown to participants or unknown to students who want to pursue engineering as their career. This webinar will also give a global picture of opportunities that are currently existing in the market, and how students can make use of it, how faculties or professionals can make use of the global opportunities and pursue their career towards the segments uh, that are currently left unexplored. Right. Let us start with the very basic concept of what is engineering. Engineering as a very keen upholding when compared to other streamlines. You take any streamlines, you take a medical student, you take a law firm, you take a accounts person. There is something unique about engineering which we all fail to explore. So even if you start browsing about the definitions for engineering, Google will throw out millions of definitions for what is engineering. But what is engineering basically? What is very unique about the field engineering? Engineering is a creative application of scientific principles that are put to practice, that are put to invent, design, create, and innovate something new. Innovate something new on that helps human or mankind on their day-to-day activities. If you take a look at the other industries, there is no other industries that uh, that gives an opportunity for development. Rather, it all lands at as a service sector oriented. You take medical profession, it is service oriented. You take law profession, it is service. It is people are not creating or innovating something new every day. But engineers, we have a unique responsibility or a unique cadre of creating something new each and every day that are put to the mankind and benefit of the world. Uh, but before going into that, are we really thinking engineering in that way? When we just mentally, when we just think about an engineer, what image that pops up to our mind immediately? It's always a person standing in a site, or a civil engineer standing in a site, or a mechanical engineer standing in the industry, giving controls and managing the laborers on how to operate a machinery or how to do the process, the technology, all that. But are we going in the right direction of what this engineering? Are we slightly deviating about what engineering is actually about? As I said earlier, engineering is creating something new. So our perspective must change from defining our mindset from something like site oriented towards building something new, towards innovating something new, technology oriented. So before dwelling into the actual topic, I would like to bring in the aspect of how the industry runs. Basically, there are only two types of sectors. You take any division, it is only there are only two types of sectors. It is either product or manufacturing oriented or service industry. Product industry, let us take IT as an example. We Because it's very easily relatable in our everyday life. You take all the global giants, global IT giants that we consider as technological leaders, like Amazon, Flipkart, your Google, Facebook. They're all product industry. They have their own set of product. Even Microsoft, they have their own set of product. Those products that they develop are actually put for the benefit of the mankind. But if you take Indian condition, what we consider in Indian condition as technological giants like Infosys, Tata Consultancy Services, TCS, Accenture, Cognizant, Wipro, Capgemini, you can name millions of companies that are we consider as global leaders. But can you find the difference between the product and the service? What we think, we are not instead of developing or creating something new, what engineer has to do, these companies offer service to the products that those companies develop. For example, Microsoft, they developed a OS, Windows, or Microsoft. We have a lot of packages we use in our day-to-day life: Excel, Word, PowerPoint, Microsoft Office, that we do everyday life. What these companies do, these Indian companies, they provide service support to the product-based companies. Instead of creating something new, we are slightly deviating our sector from product development towards service advisory. But in a long sustainable, as long sustainable option, I don't think service industry will help us in the longer run. Uh, People, these companies, they tend to move when there is a better service quality with lesser price when compared to Indian condition. If somebody, let us say from Philippines, or from Bangladesh, or from Pakistan, or be it any country, that if they find somebody to support their product, support their devices, they will very well just pull out their projects from us and give it to them. So in service sector, there is always a risk of projects getting difficulty of upholding the projects for a longer duration. So to be very precise, you can also take another example. Product company, if you take mechanical division or automobile industry, Hyundai is a product manufacturer. Hyundai, or they develop a car, but service is offered by local mechanics. Okay, so that perspective has to be taken into our mindset, that engineers are not service people, they are product development people. Okay, so I'm going to project a stat that is going to hit our face really, really hard. Uh, okay, what is the employability percentage of engineering graduates in different roles? I have categorized into. I mean, maybe the company which did the statistics has categorized specifically into IT, engineering, core engineering, or non-technical roles. The core engineering is your mechanical, civil, what we consider as core industries: mechanical, civil, electrical, and electronics. All these, they come under uh, engineering role. And IT role, again, your information and technology, your computer science, they all come under IT roles. But there is a shocking revelation from the fact that less than, if you look at the graph here, only 3% or less than 4% of the graduates who pass out every year fits in the software engineer, IT, product development categories. Whatever I was explaining in the previous slide, that global giants, Google, Flipkart, Amazon, the skill set to get into those companies by a graduate who pass out of an engineering college is only 4%, near 4%. Whereas our engineers are fit for 16% of our engineers, or has the, or rather put it this way, has a skill set to work for companies like Infosys and Wipro, CTS on the service industry. Again, what I was explaining you in the last slide. And 4%, less than 4% are ready to take the risk of getting into a startup or getting into the entrepreneur lifestyle. And very shocking revelation is for up to more than 40%. 40% of the IT graduates has skill set only for support services such as BPO, KPO, your hardware networking. That's primarily not where we should be heading to, considering our engineering knowledge, what engineering is meant to be. It's even more worse when come to the core industry. Uh, you can see only it is less than 10%. If you take any industry, you take chemical, you take civil, you take electrical, you take electronics, you can take mechanical. Only 5%, 6% of the graduates possess skill set to work for companies that design or that innovate new products and technology. 20% of the market force are fit only for sales. That is not our core principle. That is not what we are meant for. That is not what engineers are meant for. And shockingly, the other revelation, the other side, close to 40, 50, 60% of our engineering graduates works only for these sectors: BPO, KPO, technical content developers, creative content developers. Only non-tech. We have to be ashamed of the fact that this sector is leading over our employability skill set, whereas only 5%, 6%. To be very precise, if 100 graduates pass in a year, only 7 or 8 is eligible to become an engineer. Actual core value of an engineer. Rest of the 90 people, they distribute themselves on the other sectors, be it IT service, be it IT support, your BPO, KPO, your sales, etc. But do you think that is because of the market opportunity? We see that there are a lot of unemployment in the country. Is it due to the fact that, is it due to that if you look at the statistics, if you look at from the industry giants what they say, there is a big deviation. CREDAI, which is the Real Estate Development Authority of India, they release the fact that demand for tech professionals, I'm again stressing the fact, tech professionals, post incorporation of automation is likely to grow by 129% in 2030. And CII, the Confederation of Indian Industry, the Association of Engineers or Association of Industrial Association of Industries, put a fact that close to 10 crore job will be offered by only 8 sectors. That includes your retail, construction, transport, logistics, tourism, hospitality, handlooms, textile industry. They are going to develop a job for more than 10 crore people in 2025. A study by Team Lease reveals that 37% of jobs which exist today will change in one form to other. I will come back to this point again. I'll come back to this point again where I explain how this industrial transformation happens, like how one form of a job is converted to other. And Forbes listed like machine learning, artificial intelligence, your IoT, your data, cloud computing. All these are going to be the hit for the next 10, 15 years. What industry actually expects from you? Actually, what when a graduate who pass out of the engineering stream, what critically, I'm talking about industries that offer engineering consultancy or engineering work or create something new. Your Google, your Hyundai, or your core companies. What do they expect from you actually? The skill set, according to World Economic Forum, that says the top 3 skills that is essentially required is complex problem solving, critical thinking and creativity. So do you think an engineer who works for a BPO requires all these skill set? No, definitely not. Do you think a person who's working for a marketing sector or sales sector should really have this three skill sets? No, again, no. It's the other industry that is demanding you, the segments that I said will offer you jobs and is going to offer you jobs for the next 20-30 years, seeks or expects skills from the graduates. These top three are the priority for the companies to hire you. Engineers of the future must possess skills such as innovation, the thirst to innovate something new, the thirst to create something new, and entrepreneurial vision and teamwork. Okay, so we all know that we have post-industrial revolution. We have the world has completely revolutionized, and the world has changed completely. One engineering marvel that led to the creation of everything that we see is this simple round structure called wheel. This this wheel creation is wheel innovation is one of the engineering marvel that without wheel, all the other segments or industries will I don't know how this will even look like today. If you look at 1800s 1800s 1900s, how engineering how industrial revolution has taken over, you can see it requires a lot of I mean a human resource to do their work. But do you think that is the current scenario? No. If you look at current technological revolution state, it is automation, it is robots, it is instruments that has, it is technology that has taken over completely in every sector. You look across any sector, you have self-driving cars that is developed by Tesla, that is under critical testing. You have industries completely, if you look at it, assembling whatever that used to be human resource, human requirement has been completely transformed into robots and automated process. You see agricultural has been taken over by robots. So we had a very tough competition to work against these machines. So we have to be we have to possess the skill set to go about this. We have to overtake the machines. We have to overtake. So if you think about a job that is currently today that exists, in the next 10 years will definitely take a hit by the development, by the incorporation of the automation sector. Micro level changes. You take a mobile phone, how one single device, just a single device, has taken over a lot of aspects from our day-to-day life. You don't use a map, you don't use a calculator separately, you don't use a torchlight separately, you don't use a telephone, you don't use a clock, you don't use a you don't use a GPS device, you don't use a record player, or whatever that I think we're all grown up seeing all these across our table. Like every households, I see people having a radio, people having a television, people having. But in the next 10 years, it is going to change. I think now these days, I don't think any of us even have a tape recorder at our home. It has become obsolete. It has become, the usage has become obsolete. So technology development has killed millions of other gadgets. So we have to be prepared. Whatever we see today will not be the same 10 years now. We see a lot of automation technology, smart home controls. I think in the next 10 years, we will not even use switches to control our lights, fan. Even now, things has changed. Home automation has taken over, and people use voice control to turn on their lights and fans. So what will happen to the switch industry in the next 10 years? It's very shocking. The industry is going will not be there. Micro level, we are experiencing that every day. Uh, 5 years back, we everybody used to scan pages, right? Scan documents. How do we use scanner? Nobody had a scanner at their home. They had to go to the Xerox shop. They had to use the scanner, and for one page they will charge us like 10 or 20 rupees, depends on the quality and color level. Do you think scanner is currently in place? We don't use it. We just use a application that is in our Play Store, use directly at our home. Wherever we sit, we just scan it and send it across. The technology has completely taken over all the sectors of our life. So we have to be very clear and focused on which industry we choose. Whether this is not limited to any specific industry. As I'm giving example, mobile phones, it is not limited only to electronics or communication engineer or app developer, IT or software developer. It is also applicable to construction industry. You have to understand. You have to understand that technology is taking over construction industry. Augmentation reality, virtual reality has taken over the fact of visualizing certain things today. As I was explaining here, a study done by Peenlees reveals that 37% of the job which exists today will change in one form. So let us take a watch industry. People these days use smartwatches. So the production of those industry, the watch industry will have to slowly shift to developing smartwatches. Instead, if they are going to look at their traditional watch, this thing that is not going to work today. So they have to slowly alter their process and adopt their technology towards the current technological growth. So it applies to each and every industry. So as Forbes listed, the fields that are going to take a hit in the, that are going to offer millions of jobs, that are going to require a lot of graduates working towards are the sectors listed here: artificial intelligence, robotics and automation, biomedical. Especially after this COVID, industry is going to completely change. The automation industry is going to take over like Steam, whatever the application that we are going to manually, where that requires human touch, is going to be completely automated, because people are scared of human hand transmission viruses, all that. So the automation is going to be one sector that is going to take a leap in all the above. And renewable energy technology, sustainability. You see, people are developing EV cars, EV bikes. Petrol is going to be scarce. Petrol is scarce. It's a non-renewable resource. In the next 20-30 years, if we are going to use the same amount of, consume the same amount of petrol that we use today, crude oil is going to be extinct by 2050. That is what the prediction is done by the experts. So we cannot depend on that. Already the industry has started looking for an alternative. Now people are slowly moving towards electrical vehicles, and in the next 5 years, we can see a lot of electrical people buying a lot of electrical cars, electric. We even started seeing advertisement from companies promoting electrical vehicles, started manufacturing electrical vehicles. So renewable industry is one that is going to that has to be noted very crucially. Sustainability, obviously, simulation industry. These two sectors is what I'm going to give an overview of how this sector, what is this sector, how this sector requires skills, where they can be used, how simulation has revolutionized the construction sector. All this we can look at it in the latest slide. Aeronautical and space technology, Internet of Things, data analytics, material science and technology. So these are the segments or sectors that are, this is not specific to any people. I'm not going to say you study civil engineering, you will become a global leader. You choose electrical engineering, you become global. No, absolutely not. It is about utilizing your opportunity and getting into the fields that are going to be future proactive. So okay, so let me start. My profession, what I do, and what is this sustainability industry all about. First of all, why do we need sustainability professional? We know climate change is happening. Last year, when during the same summer, we faced not last summer. Every year we see. I think most of the participants are from the southern part of India. They can relate it to. Before 10 years, the summer that we had is not as severe as today. The summers are getting extremely hot, and the climate change, it is happening. We have to accept the fact that our rainfall patterns have become erratic. Some days we have huge, some years we have floods, some years we do not even have rainfall, and it leads to drought. Our water scarcity levels have been increasing every day. Not only in India, every country is facing the same. So we have to accept the fact that climate change is reality and it is hitting us hard. Health and well-being of the occupants. We cannot conventionally build the same type of building that we used to construct 5 years back. People have become more health conscious, and they are looking at, since they are going to spend 90% of their time indoors, be it house, office, or car, or a train, it is always a closed environment. So pollution from outdoor environment is comparatively minimal, is when compared to what we experience indoors. So people are looking very consciously about health and well-being of the occupants. And environmental impact. Everybody wants to manufacture a product that has least impact to the environment, that has least pollution to the environment, and economical and financial aspect. What is the advantage of adopting sustainability? What is the money that I get out of it? What is the profit that I get out of it? And obviously the energy demand. 10 years back, Tamil Nadu had a worse hit of power cuts. People experience extreme power cuts in rural areas, even close to 10 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours. So the energy demand is one of the crucial things. Without electricity, we cannot survive. Any industry, be it any industry, without electricity, industry will not survive. So energy is one of the crucial factor. And as I said, climate change. So there is a very crucial factor that has to hit us. By the year 2014-15, United Nations, there is a separate division in United Nations for every sector. United Nations for child welfare, United Nations for peace, United Nations for international affairs. There is a United Nations specifically for climate change and sustainability. The United Nations come up with a very shocking fact that our Earth global average temperature is increasing every year. It is increasing at an alarming rate. When I talk about global average temperature, the global average temperature pre-industrial revolution, that means before 1800s, before industry is coming to the picture, before 1800s or 1900s, global average temperature was close to 14 degrees Celsius to 15 degrees Celsius. It doesn't mean that Chennai had 14 degrees Celsius. It's the overall average temperature. The Chennai could be somewhere between 36 to 37 degrees Celsius, and Hyderabad would be somewhere between 40 degree to 41 degrees Celsius. You take Kodaikanal, it used to be 13, 14 degrees Celsius, or Shimla, or extreme northern part of Arctic, Antarctic region where they hit even minus degree. So the global average temperature that used to be was around 14 to 15 degrees Celsius. What the climate, what the industry, what the UN climate consultants, what they predicted is, if there is an increase in climate change from 15 to let us say 17 degrees Celsius, which is 2 degrees Celsius. All I'm talking about is 2 degrees, just 2 degrees. Our world will not be the same. Close to 40% of the species that exist today will not be there, will be affected. Close to 9% of the population of the world that are in the coastal region, if there is a 2 degree temperature increase, obviously there will be melting of ice caps in the Antarctic, Arctic region. That will lead to increase in the water level. So a shocking fact that we have to accept is cities across the coast. Even last year, there was a news line from Times of India that cities along the coast, Indian coast, you take Chennai, Mumbai, Goa, Visakhapatnam, all these that are Kochi, that are along the coast, in the next 50 years, people are very scared that the water is going to take over. If there is a 2 degree increase in the temperature, these cities will not be there. These cities will go into the ocean, and to be very precise, Bangalore will become a coast. Till now, Bangalore, we do not have a coastline in Bangalore. People in the Bangalore have to come to Chennai to enjoy the beach. But if there is a 2 degree increase in the global temperature, Chennai will not be there, and Bangalore will become the coast. So Bangalore people will start enjoying the coast. It's a shocking fact. So it's a very alarming. As we are from India, I was talking about the Indian condition, but there are millions of our Earth. 70% is surrounded by water. We are just surrounded by water. So lots of cities that are along the coast has taken a hit. Every day there is a 2 mm, 1 mm rise in the sea level will lead to a lot of global disaster. So scientists have alarmingly warned that in 2014, and the nations across the global to around 160 to 190 countries. I might be wrong, but close to 150 countries have signed the Paris, that is called Paris Accord, that they will contain their emission level. That they will, even India has signed the pact that they will reduce their emission levels from what it used to emit. They have agreed to keep up the global average temperature by for this century. They have set a target of increasing percentage by only 1 degree Celsius. So it is very alarming. The next factor that is going to take a hit is global average CO2 level. So you can be any mankind can be without food for a week. I think we all know that fact. We can survive without food for a week. We can survive without water for 3 to 4 days, but we cannot survive without air even for 5 minutes. So that's so crucial our air or oxygen requirement, to be very precise. But the global average, again I'm talking about average carbon dioxide level, has taken a percentage of 415 ppm. ppm is parts per million. So it has increased. If you notice, it has increased steadily from 1960s. The concentration in air has increased to 2000. By 2019, the fact was close to 415. Now it is 425. So again, it is an average global scenario, and it varies from place to place. Last year we had a drastic effect in Delhi. People were suffering too much from the air pollution. The entire part of the North India, people extremely suffered from air pollution, because the air that was on the outside air was not as per the breathable quality. So what happens if this 400 ppm, if it takes a, again I'm talking, as I said, I was talking only about the average. It is varying from place to place. You are in a very green place, let us say you are in a forest, the levels will be somewhere around 320, 330, and you are in the peak middle of the city, it is not 400, it will be 600 or 700. So that's when it is become increasingly alarming. So if it exceeds ordinary air, I'm talking about average external outdoor air, if it exceeds this 600 parts per million, or the internal air will become even more worse. Whatever we breathe inside a space, be it office, be it your home, whatever you breathe inside the space will be above 800 or 900. That is not even the prescribed level. What happens if you continuously take stale air that is not healthy, that is not fresh? Slowly you will develop a lung related disease. Slowly you will suffocate. You will experience breathing difficulties. And if we are not going to handle this at this stage now, uh, in the next 30 years, people who are going to, I mean, the child by birth which is going to born will definitely have any lung kind of lung disease. It will by birth itself it will develop any lung related disease. That's how alarming the situation is. So that's when we, as a sustainability professional, comes into the picture. So any industries you take works on only three principles that we call as triple bottom line: people, planet, and profit. You take any manufacturing industry, their whole motive is to make profit. That applies to everybody who start their own business or works for a company. So the main motive is to get profit. And where people comes into the picture, they create something only for the benefit of the people, and they will look into the fact planet also, because the industries cannot produce something that affects the planet worse, that leads to extreme calamities. So the industries will be always cautious in that fact. Maybe I'm zero level of impact is not possible. However, the industries will try to minimize their level of impact that is caused to the environment. So it circulates around the three principal: people, planet, profit. Where sustainability professional comes into the picture, they integrate in the center portion, where they offer services, they offer consultancy to the industry on how to make your business profit, that people can use in their day-to-day lives without adverse impact to the environment. So this is where the sustainability professional comes into the picture. And looking at the industrial scenario, what is happening? By 2015 or 2016, Indian government has announced something called a smart city project. But if you take a look whether the smart city has taken some kind of improvements that has happened in the smart city market, if you take a closer look at the newspaper, nothing has moved. In fact, 100 cities has been pledged under smart city scheme. I doubt very minimal level of activity is happening across the industry. Government is allocating fund. There is no resource. There is no fund deficit or funds deficiency. But what is really happening? the main problem there is we do not have people to we do not have qualified expert who can guide or who can develop a smart city, who can give that broader picture to the smart city program. So industry expect around 270 million people of jobs will be created by the smart city. They are predicted in the 2015 that this is going to be one of the sector where the job opportunities will be more. However, if you look at the current scenario, there are less than 5,000 professionals in India who are qualified professionals who can provide sustainability consultancy uh, to the industry. However, this is one of the main sector that generates revenue of close to 100 billion US dollars. So people have to start focus more on the sustainability and green building sector that has ample of opportunities. And meanwhile, we can also do something do some of our contribution to the environment. So careers in sustainability, is it specific to only civil, or is it specific to only mechanical, or is it specific only to electrical? No. All parts of the all sectors of the engineering streamlines can give their focus on the various opportunities that are there in the sustainability sector. So there is sustainability transportation, there is energy efficiency, there is green construction, there is green manufacturing, waste handling, renewable technology. All these sectors offer immense amount of jobs that can be utilized. So what about the pay scale? What about the pay scale? Or sustainability professionals are paid well? Yes, again, if you take international scenario, I do not have statistics for Indian scenario because we do not have the habit of publishing something. But international scenario, if you take a look, sustainability professionals are as equally paid, equal to a software engineer who works for big IT MNCs such as Google, such as Amazon. The salary that is paid to them, paid to the sustainability expert, is close to 1 lakh US dollars. That is pretty huge. Unless you work for a Google or a Microsoft, you will not be paid that much. So it is as equally paying jobs across countries. You take USA, Middle East, Malaysia, Singapore, every country has started paying sustainability professional at a very huge scale. So coming to the core principle, I'm not going to take more, maybe in the next 5 minutes, I am going to wrap it up on the complete thing of what is green building and what is simulation, what are we doing. Maybe my colleague who is going to handle the next session will explain in detail of what is it. So a green building is one that uses natural resources or built or the building that is built that causes very minimal impact to the environment. And again, whatever we were addressing here, the climate change, health and well-being, all these will be addressed in the green building sector. It will have less impact to the environment. It will contribute to the climate change. It will help to reduce the impact of the climate change. Yes, and it is going to provide health and well-being facility for the occupant, and the energy demand of a green building will be far lesser when compared to a conventional building. Yes, all these are the whatever we were discussing earlier that contributed to the global outburst of climate change will be addressed by this green building sector. So under green building sector, we sorry, under green building sector, we work on our principles on various collective different topics that include site selection, your water efficiency, energy and atmosphere, energy efficiency, your material efficiency, what type of building material that you use for your construction purpose, whether they are virgin material, whether the materials that you use are non-renewable, how do you save water, what kind of water fixtures, water taps that you can use to reduce the flow, what kind of automatic innovation technologies that are available in the market that can be used to save water. And again, end of all, we should not compromise the comfort of the occupants who is going to occupy the building. So there is a crucial sector called indoor environment quality that has given a weightage. So you cannot look at only environment. The green building is one that causes less impact to the environment without compromising the comfort for the human who are going to occupy. So in a green building, technically, the fresh air will be more, the amount of carbon dioxide level inside the building will be less. All these will be monitored using the sensors, and in case if there is any grievance in there, if there is any issue, that will be addressed immediately. So these are the national, every country has their own set of governing bodies. For example, in India, we have something called as Indian Green Building Council. In New Zealand, you have New Zealand Green Building Council. Every country all along the world has their own green building governing bodies that framework that stimulates the green building process of the country. And the next sector wherein we help clients in advising is whatever I was talking earlier, the sector that is going to take that has millions of opportunities in the future is simulation. What is simulation? Simulation is nothing but a virtual representation of something that of a process or a system that we create. Simulation or simulation industry is where can we see the simulation industry? Is it restricted to only one sector? Again, no. It is across all the sectors. You take a manufacturing sector, you take gaming sector, you take entertainment sector, you take healthcare, you take construction. The impact of manufacturing, automobile industry. Previously, the car testing that will happen, these car crash testing that will happen in the automobile industry will be manually operated. So the company has to manufacture a car worth of 5 lakhs, 6 lakhs, and then bang it against the wall to understand the impact of what happens if there is an accident, whether everything is working properly. The crash test simulation that we call used to happen manually, but now all this has been conceptualized built into the simulation platform, wherein you save a lot of resource, you save a lot of money. Before even constructing a building, we will get to know whether the building that is meant to function something is working as per what it is constructed. So we can do that in the simulations softwares. So where building simulation helps us in the building sector, we can create 3D models. We can do solar shading analysis. Solar shading analysis, as in the sun path. What happens if there is a sun at 12 p.m. on this particular day? What will happen to the building? Whether my building is creating some kind of shadow, whether which side of the wall is worstly affected by the heat, what can I do to overcome it? All these type of analysis can be constructed even before constructing on the physical site. You can do material performance study. You have millions of options now. Market is developing every day new materials. You have construction, red clay, conventional bricks that we use every day. We have fly ash blocks, fly ash bricks. We have pre-stressed or factory-made concrete panels that are erected in the site directly. We have AAC blocks, but who will give us a better picture on which is going to give me that comfort? Whether should I go for the conventional material, or what what type of advantage will I get if I use AAC block over a conventional brick? Who has the answer? Either you have to build a building, understand their impact, and then you produce the test result. Or what you can do is you can similarly build the building on the simulation platform, import all the climatic data and the climatic property of that particular latitude, longitude, and understand how this building material is going to perform. So what happens if you keep a window at this direction, whether I get more airflow from this direction, or what happens if I change this a window from my southwest wall to the northeast wall, what happens to the daylight, what happens to the airflow inside the building. If I construct a building using green technology, what will be the building energy consumption, whether the building will consume the same amount of the conventional building, or whether it will consume very less energy. All these analysis can be done, bring in and done in the simulation platform. So I think this will give an overall idea of I've briefed about the opportunities, the employment, what this industry actually do. And now I would like to thank you. And as the quote says, success is very simple. It is doing right thing at the right way at the right time. So when there is an opportunity, we have to grab it and let's use it in the right way. I would also take this opportunity to thank, let us all take a moment to thank the COVID warriors who are fighting for us at this pandemic situation. Let us take a moment to thank the doctors, nurses, and engineers who are fighting to develop a vaccine, or develop a ventilator, or something that for us to overcome this scenario. We hope we'll overcome this scenario. Thank you. And once again, I would like to thank the management for giving us this opportunity. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Shivashankaran. That was a wonderful session. It was very professional. So proud to see our
Thank
alumni
you.
to give such a good presentation. It was
Thank you.
really
Thank you.
nice, so informative. Many few concepts that we do not know. What is the aspects and future requirements, and what are the various perspective avenues for all the departments. The recent trends in jobs or the skills has been presented by you. Thank you very much, Shivashankaran. Now I
Thank
think
you,
we will
ma'am.
hand over the session to Prabhakaran to continue.
Yeah, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Hope it is audible and clear to everyone here.
It is audible.
Right. Yeah, I will just share my screen as well. Is the screen visible now?
It is visible, pa.
Yeah, right. Thank you. Thank you, Shiva. Actually, that was a thoughtful session to hear. Just a short introduction about myself. So, myself, Prabhakaran here, heading the manager role under green buildings and energy analyst in Earthnomic Engineers at Chennai. So, having more than 5 years of experience in the field of green building certification process. So we do train corporates, faculties of universities, students, and interns. I have completed my bachelor degree in civil engineering and currently pursuing my postgraduate diploma in urban environmental law. So I do work as a freelancer for a landscape architecture firm in Chennai. So before we get on to the main agenda of our session, so So I would like to share a quick background about who we are and what we do. So we started this organization with a team of 5 members at 2018, which is 2 years back. Mr. Shivashankaran, my colleague, and myself were handling the technical part of it, while the business development part were taken care by other members of our team. So we are environmental or sustainable engineers who bridge the gap between the client, architect, and consultants. Consultants here means like mechanical, electrical, and plumbing consultants. So we bridge the gap between them by an integrated approach at the preliminary or design stage of the project, so that we can improve the selection of building materials, design, and energy efficiency for majority of the sectors like commercial, industrial, institutional, and residential sectors. So here is the snap of the services that we actually do. So a few of them are green building certification, energy simulation advisory, HVAC, that is air conditioning design and commissioning. Next is product or material analysis, then natural and artificial lighting design advisory, training and skill development as well. So next is here is the list of organization which we have worked with. So it includes a majority of the sectors which we saw earlier as well, like industrial, institutional, commercial, and residential sectors as well. So now I will explain quickly about one of our services, that is energy simulation, how it came into the picture, something like. So in olden days, with lots of imagination and thoughts, we started transferring them into A2 sheets, which we might have experienced in the engineering graphics subjects. So later on, the development of 2D softwares came across like AutoCAD. Then we thought of having a virtual representation in a 3D perspective. And so the Revit and other softwares came into the picture as BIM, that is building information modeling. Our next concept or next movement towards is towards the digital twin. So which is the fastest moving technology as well. And it is the key in industrial revolution of fourth generation, which is called BEM, that is building energy modeling. So we will be having a lot of ideas and inputs for designing a building, like providing a glazing on one end of the wall or changing the brick material. But what we won't be knowing is that how it actually works or performs. So this is where BEM or digital twin plays a vital role. So a building interacts with its external as well as the internal environmental factors, actually, to say. So a good building designer needs to account all these factors like air temperature, humidity, solar radiation, wind speed, wind directions, because these will be varying significantly throughout the year. So, and balance it with thermal and visual comfort requirements, internal heat gains, and so on. For example, a designer may decide to have a large glazed facade for better aesthetic purpose and to increase the amount of natural light, that is daylight, to enter into the building. This can lead to reduction in artificial lighting as well, but may increase the cooling load of air conditioning system due to heat gains that is passing through the glazing. So usually thumb rule will be used for sizing the tonnage of the rooms, say like 200 square feet per ton or 250 square feet. But it is not an efficient way to design for large complex commercial buildings. So that is where energy simulation part comes to play. So I have worked out a sample case study on how actually the energy simulation works. So here the energy simulation was performed using the below software. So it is IES, Integrated Environmental Solutions. So now let us consider a commercial IT building. So having a total built up area of about 5,000 square meter, that is the total floor area. with the 5 floors. Let us consider each floor plate is having 25 meter by 40 meter length, and window to wall area ratio is considered as 20%. Whether or the location, as of now, I have considered as Vijayawada. The building is completely air conditioned, and we have considered by running this for about 8 hours a day. So once these preliminary inputs are provided, so 3D model will be ready. So as I said, the shorter facade, so it will be 25 meter, and let us consider the longer facade having a 40 meter length. Now I have modeled 2 scenarios here for understanding the impact of construction materials. So first scenario is that having the shorter facades on north and south orientation, while the second scenario, the shorter facades are placed on east and west direction. So in order to understand which is the possible and best orientation to suggest the client. So once the model and location or weather is set, we will be assigning the construction properties. So now let's consider scenario 1, which is the shorter facade along the north-south direction. So in case 1, let us consider normal construction material which is available, like wall with normal red brick and roof with concrete slab. Then the window is provided with transparent clear glass. So once these properties are assigned to the 3D model, we will be running the simulation to generate the required tonnage for that whole air conditioned building. So once the case 1 is completed, we will be generating the result. So it result pops out around 122 TR. So similarly, let us consider in case 2 by replacing the red brick with the AAC block. So AAC block here represent the autoclaved aerated concrete block. So similarly, once we rerun the simulation again, we will be able to generate the tonnage for this case. It gets reduced to 103 TR because of the property of this aerated concrete block. Next, in case 3, let's provide a white paint or tile on the exterior surface of our roof. So white paint or tile has more than 70% of reflectivity of solar heat. So we would have also seen them in the recent ads as well as cool roof paint or tile. Now the tonnage requirement for this case is 90 TR. Similarly, once we try running for the same cases of case scenario 2, which is the shortest facade on east-west direction, we would be able to observe a huge reduction in the tonnage. That is the worst case, which we can see is the case 1 in the north-south orientation, and the best case in the east-west direction. There is a reduction of about 35 TR. So this is just a simple scenario. So in the same way, we could do multiple number of simulation as well, and how the building will be performing for the whole year as well with the use of these energy simulation softwares. Now let us get back into the main agenda of our session. So I have just summarized a few of the points which we will be taking home back at the end of the session. So understanding the current scenario, that is, we will be looking into the current scenarios of all the engineering sectors and what are the transformations that will be happening in the engineering sectors, and how we can utilize this lockdown period and opportunities for improving our skill set as well. So before we get into the skill development of ourselves, let us have an overview of various sectors post-lockdown period and how they will be impacting the future growth as well. So here are the few of the sectors which will be benefiting our post-lockdown period. Let us go one by one. First is renewable energy sector. So in this sector, there is an urgent need for the renewable energy industry in a need to set up more manufacturing facilities in India. Because of the COVID pandemic, There is indeed a wake-up call for the renewable sector, as there has been severe impacted due to shortage of not only just the cells and the modules, but also the ancillary products, because we were actually depending on the other countries for these products. And the next is the automobile sector. Firms here are being forced to invest on smarter technologies, actually, to say. The current pandemic is forcing the manufacturing sectors to reevaluate its traditional production process. A combination of supply chain interruption and a shortage of material is affecting not only the industries but the wider economy as well. So the manufacturers are collectively being forced to implement new approaches to monitor as well as to control the quality of the products. So this is where digital innovation in smarter manufacturing can offer many benefits. COVID has forced the industries to think smarter and ultimately build more resilience in production environments. There is a rise in digitalization and a steady move towards a cloud-based software as a service solution, and which have thrown manufacturers a welcome line to help them maintain a stable continuity against a challenging environment. Next is the construction sector. So projects here are under development or construction are likely to take a hit with a minimum of delay in 2 or 3 months. This may depend on location or impact of the pandemic situation. So the construction sector is being suggested to move for the use of advanced digital tools such as BIM, building information modeling, IoT-based solutions like Internet of Technologies, GIS, that is geographical information systems, and drones for critical projects for minimizing the site visits and build efficient and transparency in reporting as well. Next important is the sustainable engineering sector. So there are several areas where sustainable engineers actually can get involved in. For this may vary from environmental engineering to engineering management and also to energy efficiency management as well. So private consulting companies that work for water, infrastructure, natural resources, manufacturing, and environmental sectors also hire sustainable engineers. So some of the other sectors like healthcare, banking, entertainment sector is even benefited during this lockdown periods as well. So this also includes education sectors. As we speak now, digital education has experienced a new growth in this period. So the assessment of assignments and taking online exams are the new challenges that we are facing. So on an overall, the growth isn't just limited to these sectors. So it will be surely extending itself into many avenues. So as the economy slowly starts juggling back to the normal after lockdown lifts, so it will be interesting for us to see how these kind of transformation play out and existing infrastructure and larger community as well. So many of these changes that happened during this COVID situation are going to be permanent. So it will take some time for the transformation to happen. So till then, we just have to focus on building our skill sets. So we saw more about the sectors. Now there are various trends as we speak, which covers in almost all the sectors for the transformation to happen. So that is the role of fourth industrial revolution and its future as well. So some of them are being listed below here. One is real-time visibility, so which is useful in checking the availability of raw materials, finished goods, work in progress, peoples and assets as well. Next is the use of artificial intelligence and machine learning to constantly assess and replan our activities as well. So RPA is termed as robotic process automation, which is used to support labor-intensive activities. Then the use of mobile technology and virtual reality enables workers to perform tasks more easily. Digital twin, which we saw in the previous slides as well. So then is the virtual working. So here, this will be useful in sorting out the issues of lockdown and social distancing as well. Next is 3D printing and use of AGV, that is automated guided vehicles and drones, to again reduce the reliance on people and to further assist them with social distancing. So next is here is the career opportunity meter for various technologies and how there will be an impact in short term and long term period as well. Almost there will be dramatic good growth in almost all these sectors to say. So now let's focus on how we can analyze ourselves by just a simple method called SWOT analysis. Before we before we try to face any interviews, like identifying our strengths and weaknesses and opportunities and threats. There may be question from the interviewer that what did you do even in the lockdown period as well. So we should be able to face those and by utilizing this current available time as well. So before we prepare ourselves for the interview, so we just have to go through number of organizations on the jobs posted in the web pages and try to look out for the skills they are actually looking for and try to work on the same. Now let's see how we can stay ahead in the job opportunities. Just be proactive in reaching out to companies by writing to as many films as possible with your CVs. Just look beyond the traditional avenues, like explore the startup ecosystem for your jobs as well. Add skills that are relevant to your qualifications and take up freelance assignments as well on softwares or skills that you are strong at. Then try to take up an internship and last is try take up any short-term courses as well. So I know it is easy to list down all these things that are to be done. For the same, I will also help out on how we can gain those skill set during this lockdown period in the upcoming slides as well. So here are some of the software skills that we can actually learn at a free of cost as well. A web page called SourceCAD, who provides software tutorials for a free of cost as well. Courses include AutoCAD. Even in AutoCAD, it includes 2D and 3D drawing as well. Next is Fusion 360. It is a tool for product development, which combines industrial and mechanical design. Next is SolidWorks. Each of these courses are pre-recorded, having more than 5 years of tutorial series with the latest version to say. So SolidWorks is yet to be uploaded. So it will be available mostly by end of this month. Here is a link below for any additional information as well. So you can just note down this as well. Then there are few other programs that offer a valuable skill set to charge ourselves on a theoretical as well as the practical skills. NPTEL, they are National Program on Technology Enhanced Learning. So they are coordinated by IIT Madras and other IITs all over the India. So they do offer online courses at for every unlimited participations. So anywhere between July and January, around 250 to 300 courses are offered online, at a free of cost to say for everyone. They do offer internship for toppers of the respective courses which we choose. So the internship period varies between 2 to 8 weeks, along with the stipend to say. So this online portal is much helpful for preparing our yearly exams as well. Almost all the notes related to every department is actually available, and they do offer great preparations as well. So also one more to say is here, some of the educational institutes make it compulsory for students to get an NPTEL online certification as well for at least any of the 2 courses that are relevant to their interest and department. So private companies are now considering NPTEL courses are part of their recruitment process as well to say. So the link has been attached below so that you can refer for any additional information. Next slide, it will be purely related to civil engineering department students. So this is offered by CSIR SERC. So it is called the Council of Scientific and Research, Industrial Research. They are Structural Engineering Research Center, which is in Chennai, Taramani, where undergraduate and postgraduate students can complete their final year project works under the guidance of identified research scientists. So the duration of the project varies from 4 to 6 months on a full-time basis within the campus itself. So, and it's completely free of cost. The selection criteria and eligibility might vary. So we just have to go through the link attached. So we have to create a kind of SOP, the statement of purpose, for why we are interested in doing this program and what kind of project you are interested in actually doing. So we just have to check whether we are matching the eligibility criteria as well. And for postgraduate students in civil engineering department, it is purely for the structural course to say. And next is offered by Amazon. So they have multiple positions available globally for all the graduates. They do offer internship program throughout the year. So each program lasts around 12 to 16 weeks to say. They take interns in the below mentioned fields, as you can see. So the opportunities in Amazon actually can range between building innovative technologies in large distributed computing environment to designing consumer products as well. So just please note down the below link. I will also share this at the end of the presentation as a message as well. Next is this is provided by private organizations. So they do offer some of, so we do also actually need some practical exposures as well, such as implant training and industrial visits during our engineering period as well. So below our list of the private organizations who offer these opportunities. So for almost all the departments, they do offer these opportunities, but at a marginal cost to say. So they do offer freelance work as well. So they provide real-time hands-on project development, commercial skills for gaining experience. Projects are offered depending upon areas of interest for students based on the department as well. So some of them are Kashi Infotech, next is Let's Intern, and next is the Internshala. So the last one I would like to show is in the previous slides, I was talking about the education sector and its development as well. So likewise, yesterday to say IIT Madras introduced its first ever online BSc degree programming, BSc degree in programming and data science. So the best thing about this program is that it has multiple entry and exit points as well. At various stages, we can complete our courses as well. So we can choose the module as per our own professional requirements. And we do not need to appear for any JEE exams or anything for this. The students who have completed their class 12 as well in the current year 2020, and anyone who have completed class 12 are also eligible to apply for this. And there is no age limit as such for this program. So use the below link, which will be useful also to. So at last, whether we perform engineering, arts, or science, the one thing we should realize is that future will be a kind of skilled world. So for the current situation, as well as the upcoming impact of fourth industrial revolution, there will be a lot of transformation, and also there will be a creation of more jobs as well. So unless we develop our skills, it will be very difficult to get into the jobs we look out for. So we should move faster along with the technology by gaining the necessary skills. So within the available time frame, I was just able to gather as much sources as possible. So with a success quote from our Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, I would like to conclude my session. Without your involvement, you can't succeed, and with your involvement, you can't actually fail to say. So I would like to thank Arjuna ma'am, Assistant Professor, Deepa ma'am, HOD of Civil Department, our Principal Chairperson for giving this opportunity to share our thoughts and guidance as well. So above links which I have shared are verified sources. So in case if you face any issues, please just drop a message to the below mail ID as well. Thank you, ma'am.
So with that, we will go ahead and take some time for questions now. Participants, you may raise your questions now. Am I audible to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Participants, you may raise your questions now.
Ma'am, Arjuna ma'am,
Yes, ma'am, I'm there, ma'am.
are you hearing me? I think there are no questions. You can give the
Yes,
vote of
ma'am.
thanks. You can go on with the vote of thanks.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Good afternoon. It's my privilege to propose the vote of thanks on this occasion. It's my gratitude to thank our beloved alumni students, Mr. Sivashankaran and Mr. Prabhakaran, for accepting our invitation for the webinar, focusing and inspiring us in green building, sustainability, upcoming technologies in engineering field, job opportunities, etc. Thank you so much. I would like to thank our beloved chairperson, Ma'am Dr. M. Mala, for extending the facilities to conduct the webinar. I would like to thank our respected Secretary Sir, Mr. Manigandan. I express our sincere thanks to Dr. L. Raja, our Principal Sir, for the spontaneous help rendered during this period in conducting the webinar. We, the staff and students of Department of Civil Engineering, express our immeasurable thanks to Deepa ma'am, Head of the Department, for her immense cooperation. I would like to express my thanks to our faculty members, Mr. Swaminathan, Mrs. Geeta, Mrs. Padmapriya, Mrs. Arivarati, for the successful completion of the webinar today. Last but not the least, I thank all my students for their continuous support in all the department activities. Once again, I thank you all for joining us today. Stay home safe. I hope we will meet you all in soon in the next program. Thank you. Feedback links is provided in the chat box. I request you all to fill up the feedback form and receive a re-certificate in your concerned email IDs. And also the recorded version of today's section will be mailed to all the participants to their concerned mail ID. Thank you. Thank you all.
With these few words, I like to conclude the session. So, on behalf of the Department of Civil Engineering, I extend my sincere thanks to our organizer, Mrs. M. Ajona, Assistant Professor, Civil Engineering Department. As the head of the department, I extend my sincere thanks to all the faculty members of the department, Mrs. Geeta, Mrs. Padma, Mrs. Arivarasi, Mr. N. Swaminathan. So, the success of this webinar was only because of teamwork. And in particular, I like to sincerely thank the resource persons, our proud alumni, R. Sivashankaran and S. Prabhakaran. Both of them seem to be young achievers. They addressed our participants with their profound knowledge. So now at this panic situation, this topic was really the need of the hour and of high priority. I feel very fortunate to be a part of this webinar. Thank you.